Imagine this, a cold, rainy night in a sprawling mansion where luxury hides heartbreaking secrets. What if I told you that a billionaire tycoon's world is about to shatter when he stumbles upon a tiny girl, the daughter of his loyal maid, huddled in the shadows of his kitchen, scavenging for scraps from his lavish dinners? But his reaction? It's not anger or dismissal, it's something that will leave you in tears and restore your faith in humanity. Stick around till the end, because the twist will shock you to your core. If that hooked you, hit that like button right now and subscribe to The Kind Hearts Stories for more uplifting tales that touch your soul. Don't miss out. Chapter 1. In the glittering heart of New York City, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds like diamonds, lived Alexander Harrington, a billionaire whose empire spanned tech innovations and real estate fortunes. His days were a whirlwind of boardroom battles and private jets, but his nights echoed with emptiness in his opulent penthouse atop Harrington Tower. For years, Maria, his devoted maid, had been the quiet force keeping his world spotless, arriving at dawn with a warm smile, scrubbing away the remnants of his solitary life. Little did Alexander know, Maria carried a heavier burden than her cleaning supplies. Her 8-year-old daughter, Lila, who often tagged along during school breaks because childcare was a luxury they couldn't afford. Lila was a wide-eyed sprite with tangled curls and a spirit unbroken by poverty, but hunger gnawed at her like a relentless shadow. One stormy evening, as thunder rattled the windows, Alexander returned early from a gala, his tuxedo damp and his mind weary from superficial conversations. He wandered into the kitchen for a midnight snack, flipping on the dim light, only to freeze at the sight before him. There, crouched behind the massive marble island, was Lila, her small hands clutching a half-eaten apple from the trash bin, her face smeared with remnants of yesterday's gourmet roast. Her eyes widened in terror, expecting scolding or worse, but Alexander's heart cracked open like the storm outside. Memories flooded him, of his own childhood in foster homes, scraping by on leftovers, the shame that fueled his ruthless climb to success. He knelt down slowly, his voice soft amid the rain's patter. "Hey there, little one. You don't have to hide. What's your name?" Lila whispered hers, trembling, as Maria rushed in, apologies tumbling from her lips like spilled pearls. Alexander waved her off gently, his mind racing with a plan born from empathy he thought he'd buried long ago. He invited them to sit at the grand dining table, ordering fresh pizza delivery despite the late hour, watching Lila's eyes light up as she devoured slices without fear. But this was just the beginning. Alexander's reaction wasn't mere kindness, it was about to change everything. As the night wore on, he learned of Maria's struggles, a single mother fleeing an abusive past, working multiple jobs to keep Lila in school. Touched to his core, Alexander felt a paternal pull he'd never known, his isolated life suddenly illuminated by this child's innocent gaze. By dawn, he'd arranged for Lila to have her own room in the guest wing, insisting Maria bring her every day. Yet, the real shock was brewing, a decision that would redefine family for all of them, proving that wealth means nothing without heart. Chapter 2. As weeks turned into months, Alexander's mansion transformed from a sterile showcase into a home pulsing with laughter and life. Lila's presence was like sunlight filtering through heavy curtains, melting the ice around the billionaire's guarded soul. He hired tutors for her, filling her days with books and art supplies, watching in awe as her creativity bloomed, sketches of imaginary worlds that mirrored her resilient spirit. Maria, relieved from constant worry, confided in Alexander about Lila's dreams of becoming a doctor, inspired by the nurses who once saved her from illness without insurance. But beneath the surface, Alexander grappled with his own demons. Success had come at the cost of relationships, leaving him alone until now. One fateful afternoon, while reviewing Lila's school report, straight A's despite her hardships, he overheard her sobbing in the playroom. Rushing in, he found her clutching a torn photo of her absent father, whispering, "Why doesn't anyone want me?" His heart shattered anew. That night, over a homemade dinner he insisted on cooking himself, burnt pancakes that made them all giggle, Alexander revealed his plan. "Lila, Maria," he said, his voice steady but eyes misty, "I've spoken to lawyers. I want to adopt Lila, give her the security she deserves, and Maria, promote you to household manager with a salary that lets you breathe easy." Maria gasped, tears streaming, while Lila flung herself into his arms, whispering, "You mean like a real dad?" The adoption papers were signed amid joyful chaos, but the true shock came during the court hearing. Alexander announced a foundation in Lila's name, funding education and meals for underprivileged kids worldwide, turning his discovery into a global wave of kindness. Reporters swarmed, dubbing him the billionaire with a heart of gold, but to Lila, he was simply Dad. Years later, as Lila graduated medical school, her valedictorian speech echoed, "One man's compassion turned scraps into a feast of opportunities." Alexander, beaming from the front row, knew his reaction that rainy night hadn't just shocked the world, it had healed his own broken pieces, proving that true wealth lies in lifting others up. If this story warmed your heart and brought a tear to your eye, smash that like button and subscribe to The Kind Hearts Stories for more inspiring narratives that remind us of the power of empathy. Join our community today.